This is the start of side 2. And we now return to local news with Joan, who will start with sports.
Enfield eased to a 139-run win over Brentham in Middlesex County Cricket League Division 2 on Saturday. After being put into bat, mid-table Enfield scored a total of 251 for 4, with Sam Wilson in superb form, scoring an unbeaten 105. Neil Tilley hit 62, and Keal Bacchus-Brown notched 50 for the side. Brentham got off to a terrible start and were dismissed for 112 in 42.1 overs. I'd repeat that last little bit. Dismissed for 112 in 42.1 overs. Lee Robertson claimed 5 for 38, and Leo Smith returned figures of 3 for 23 in a comprehensive win. Winchmore Hill had to settle for a draw in their game against strugglers of Bessborough in Division 3. Batting first, Winchmore Hill managed to score a total of 291 for 2 from their 50 overs. Bessborough were much slower in comparison, but comfortably avoided defeat as they finished on 216 for 4. Second-placed Botany Bay picked up a 50-run win over Stevenage in the Hearts competition.
And I have a sports item. Enfield Town slipped to the foot of the early season Ryman Premier Division table after suffering a 3-0 defeat at Billericay Town on Saturday. Still without either a point or a goal, the stuttering visitors fell behind to a Tom Derry strike on 26 minutes. Town suffered another setback 4 minutes later when Tayshan Hayden Smith was sent off, and they fell further behind prior to the interval through a George Bevan goal. Anomi Sodia added the third from the spot on 57 minutes to set the seal on a miserable afternoon for the visitors. Town went into the match without Claudio Vilcu after the central defender underwent a hernia operation, while striker Corey Whiteley was also absent with a hamstring problem.
Now here I have some news from Chicken Shed, with a title on the top, Theatre Changing Lives. And then it says, What's on at Chicken Shed? And the next title is Tales from the Shed. And we are told vibrant, interactive theatre shows that are perfect for young children. I go on from Friday, the 4th of September, right along to Saturday, the 31st of October, from 10 a.m., then from 11:30 a.m., for ages 0 to 6 years, charged £6, but free to babies under 6 months. There's a separate piece of information about a jazz night, which is a tribute to Alex Welsh, including special guests Julian Mark Stringle and trombone ace Roy Williams on Friday, the 11th of September at 8:30 p.m. Main charge £17, but if you book in advance, it'll be £15. And now I'll give the information about the box office numbers. The box office number 0208 292 9222. And online, I can give you the words that you need. www.chickenshed, one word, .org.uk.
And I have some more from Chicken Shed. Live music with Joe Collins and friends. A thrilling set of covers, pop, soul, funk and folk. And that's on Saturday the 19th of September at 8:30 p.m. Tickets £11 and £9 in ad. Whether that means in advance, I don't know. I'm sorry. Also, the 12 Days of Christmas, a magical and humorous festive adventure. 25th of November to 9th of January, ages 5+, and tickets from £11, which are now on sale. And again, the box office number is 0208 292 9222 or www.chickenshed, all one word, .org.uk.
And now we have a letter from Dr. Samantha Walker, who is the Deputy Chief Executive of Asthma UK. Your readers may have been shocked to hear of the death of Stuart Baggs, former star of The Apprentice, to an asthma attack at the age of 27. Our thoughts are with his family and friends at such a heartbreaking time. Many people don't realize how serious asthma is, yet every 10 seconds someone in the UK is having a potentially life-threatening asthma attack, and 3 people die from asthma every day. I can't stress enough how important it is that the 1 in 11 people with asthma in the UK recognize the early warning signs of an asthma attack and know what to do when their symptoms are getting worse. Every person with asthma should have a written asthma action plan. Anyone concerned about their asthma can call the Asthma UK helpline on 0300 222 5800 to speak to a specialist asthma nurse, or visit www.asthma.org.uk.
And I have a letter from Richard Bartlett of ACCA North London Members Network Chair. And he says, over the next month, thousands of potential students from across North London will be considering whether university is the right route for them. The average debt for a student leaving university is now above £55,000 in London, and with maintenance grants being converted to loans by the government, this figure will rise even further. However, not wanting to burden yourself with this level of debt doesn't mean a professional career is beyond you. Many professional bodies, such as the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, don't require a degree. Studying for a professional qualification instead of choosing to complete an undergraduate degree can have a number of advantages. You can work while you study, earning valuable experience, and once completed, you will have a professional qualification and, depending on your study options, a master's degree from the University of London by the time most people will be completing their undergraduate degree. University experience can be an important part of your development, but it is always worth considering whether it is something you want to do, whether it is important to your career aspirations, or are you doing it because it's the next logical step? In today's competitive job market, 3 years' experience gained while studying for a professional qualification could put you ahead of your peers.
2 of Enfield's MPs have come together to protest against proposed cuts to public health services in the borough. In a letter sent to the Secretary of State for Health, Jeremy Hunt, Joan Ryan, Labour MP for Enfield North, and David Burrows, Conservative MP for Enfield Southgate, expressed concern at central government plans to reduce the amount of money allocated to public health in England by £200 million, a move which both MPs fear will have serious implications. Enfield's public health grant for 2015 to 16 is £14.25 million, which equates to £43 per head in Enfield, lower than the £67 average per head right across London. Ms. Ryan said funding for services in tackling alcohol misuse, smoking and sexual health was well short of what was needed. She added, "I am very concerned that the government intends to consult with local authorities about cuts to their public health budgets." Mr. Burrows said that cuts in public health services concerned both me and my constituents. He has sought assurances from Mr. Hunt that cuts would not be implemented until their impact on Enfield has been fully considered.
Donkeys, souvenirs, candy floss and Punch and Judy shows are all traditional elements of the British seaside experience, and hundreds of families enjoyed a day at the seaside without a trip to the coast last Wednesday, when the Great British Beach Holiday was brought to Lee Valley Park Farms in Wortham Abbey. The special Beside the Seaside event saw huge crowds for a Punch and Judy show, donkey rides and pig racing, as well as a spot of falconry and farm animals on display. James Broomfield, Lee Valley Park's farms manager, said, "Our Beside the Seaside event was popular with visitors of all ages. We got to enjoy all the best bits of the seaside right on their doorstep without having to drive to the coast. We have a seaside theme running at Lee Valley Park Farms for the rest of the summer holidays, with sandcastles and deck chairs providing a holiday getaway for families in the middle of the countryside, he added.
A charity worker is urging the government to listen to young people instead of sticking plaster over their problems. Takiwa Danso, who grew up in Tottenham, works on international charity projects for the Al-Kahir Foundation in Bounds Green. The 22-year-old, who was speaking out as part of International Youth Day, which was held on August the 12th, believes young people in the UK are marginalised and undervalued, which can lead to riots. She said, "Sometimes I feel that we are an easy target, and that is made worse because we do not have that outlet to defend ourselves. We don't have that platform. We are often seen as being lazy or uninterested and apathetic to what is going on in politics. But when I talk to other young people my age, I hear how passionate they are and how much they want to change certain things in their local communities or in their schools or universities." Takiwa began volunteering for the second Haringey's Boys Brigade Youth Club when she was 16, as she believes having a good start in life is paramount. But she feels that even after the Tottenham riots, the money pumped into the area has not addressed the real issues youth face. She added, "There is a generation that is missed out who aren't able to properly benefit. They need to work on not letting that happen again. You don't want another riot, but it was because people were angry. You need to address why they're angry, as opposed to just sticking a plaster over it." International Youth Day, coined by the United Nations, is the first step to widespread recognition that young people need to be heard. Takiwa believes the next step is involving youth voices in all levels of decision-making and wants to see youth councils in every London borough. She added, "When you start getting a different group of people involved, you start seeing things from a different angle. It is not that we have all the answers, because we obviously don't, but we want to be able to learn so that we know how to make the same mistakes and avoid them from previous generations." Takwa derives her own motivation from her experience after working with VSO in Kenya, where she only had limited time and resources to achieve her goals. She also recently led 30 Days, 30 Voices, a social media campaign for the general election 2015, encouraging youth to speak out, and completed a stint volunteering in Kenya.
Residents of a home for the elderly threw their own VJ Day party on Friday to commemorate the 70th anniversary of Japan's surrender. The event, which signalled the end of World War II. Folk at Springview Residential Care Home in the Crescent, Enfield, remembered those soldiers killed or subjected to the brutality of prisoner-of-war camps while serving in the Far East. They waved Union Jack flags and wore Union Jack hats while seated at tables covered in Union Jack tablecloths. And surrounded by Union Jack bunting, they enjoyed platefuls of sandwiches and tea cakes served up by care home staff dressed in 1914-style period clothing. The memory of that day in 1945 was relived as John Britton, one of the residents, with crown on his head, read out by the address to the nation by King George VI to announce Japan's surrender. That was followed by residents singing the national anthem and the last post, while another resident accompanied them on his harmonica. Of course, it has bittersweet memories for our residents, said Jeremy Balcom, boss of the Springdean Care Homes Group, which runs Springview. VJ Day has been somewhat overlooked in comparison to Victory in Europe Day, but it was just as historically significant, and our residents felt they wanted to remember and honour the memory of those who had died and suffered serving in the Far East.
Calls have been made for the names of any people who gave their lives in conflicts since 1945 for a new war memorial. The memorial will be placed on Chaste Green and is set to be constructed next year, with it bearing the names of those fallen men and women from conflicts such as Northern Ireland, the Falklands, Gulf, Afghanistan, and Iraq wars. Enfield Council, the Sewers Association, and the Royal British Legion are now calling on anyone who knows of a fallen man or woman. Councillor Daniel Anderson, Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Environment, said, "I am delighted that Enfield Council has found a suitable location for this war memorial, so we can erect a permanent and prominent monument to the members of the armed forces who have given their lives in service. Information needed includes the person's name, their last address, where they died, which conflict, the date they died, the unit that they were serving with, and your contact details. Contact Park Business in Enfield Gov UK to submit your details. Deadline is October 30 at 5 p.m.
An extremely rare artifact found during excavations in 40 Hall grounds has provided more evidence about life in the Tudor palace that once stood there. A complete triangular window pane with the lead casing intact was discovered on July the 19th, the final day of Enfield Archaeological Society's week of annual excavations. Archaeologists were removing sandy demolition material from a garderobe sewage chute behind what was once a facade wall of Henry VIII's Elsing Palace when they made the find. Dr. Martin Dern, Enfield Archaeological Society's Director of Excavations, said, "I suppose it is pure luck that it survived. It fell into a deposit which was very sandy and soft, so it didn't smash on impact. Although other complete panes have been discovered elsewhere, it is very unusual to find one with the lead attached. Since lead work changed over time, Archaeologists can use the lead to date the window pane as from the Tudor period, around the time that Henry VIII refurbished the palace in 1539. Dr. Joan said, "We will expect to find things from that date and expect to find bits of glass and lead, but we wouldn't expect to find complete panes because lead was expensive, as was glass, so people would collect it and try and sell it after demolition. The discovery of the pane and other pieces of glass and lead gives a better idea about what that part of the palace looked like, what it was used for, and who stayed there. Dr. Dunn believes the section may have been home to part of the king's entourage and later used as the main residential quarters when the palace was sold to a nobleman. The window pane will be sent to the Enfield Museum after it has been assessed, drawn and photographed. Visitors to Forty Hall may be able to see the rare artifact for themselves in the future, as Dr. Dern hopes to display it to the public."
A memorial garden has been opened by pupils as they paid respects to a former Year 5 pupil. The garden at Cuckoo Hall Academy was opened in memory of A's heir. Pupils presented A's parents with a photo of her from her time at school and released 9 pink balloons. The garden was named A's Garden and features a memorial bench inscribed in English and Turkish. Head teacher Sharon Ahmet said, "A's Garden is a touching tribute to a pupil who had such a positive impact on so many here at Cuckoo Hall."
We have reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. And so from the team of
Joan
and myself, Lillian, with Colin on controls, it's goodbye, cheerio. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the cassette into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. The Enfield Talking newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.